That's how we create social change, is through being the change, right? Not through telling people, this is what you need to do, you should be all doing this. It's just, good morning, peeps. Happy Tuesday.
It's a frisky Tuesday.
It's like, look up there, and I go, look, it's blue up there.
Hi, and welcome back to the Unconventionalist podcast. I'm your host, Mark Leruste, and this is the show about what it's really like to turn your message into a movement. Now, full disclaimer before we get into today's powerful conversation, if you're watching this over on our YouTube channel or on our website, theunconventionalist.com, you're going to notice something. First of all, my clothes, my facial hair, my haircut, a lot of the stuff that's happening over here is different than what you're going to see in the conversation. That's because I've since had a haircut, since had a beard trim, since had a change of clothes, because we recorded the episode a couple of days ago with today's guest, and we weren't sure when to release episodes, and you're going to hear this in a second why. We decided to bump it up and to move it up to the 4th of September to be in line with the big launch of his epic project. And that's why I had to jump back in the studio as quickly as possible to re-record this so we could actually put it into the podcast. But if you listen to this, you're most likely thinking, what are you talking about, Mark? I can't already hear or see a difference. But I just wanted to give you a little heads up in case you're watching this and go, that's a bit strange. I'm pretty sure that's a Back to the Future moment. So before I get into today's powerful conversation, I want to let you know that this is something that I've been hearing so many times. People are asking me like, how did you get started on your podcast? How do you find guests? What microphone you should buy? What platform should you be hosting on? And what title should you call your show? How do you find, all this stuff kept on coming up all the time. So for the last 3 years, I've taught now probably over 400 people who've come through my workshops, boot camps, master classes to launch their podcast. And I don't run a lot of them. Actually, I probably run one a year, if that. And this is going to be the last one I run in 2019. And on the 20th of September, I'm going to be bringing a small group of people together in London to teach them everything I've learned over the last 4 years of growing the Unconventionalist podcast. We've got 110,000 downloads today, over 125 episodes, something like that. And more than that, I believe that launching a podcast can do wonders to you, your business, and your message and your passion. So if you want to stop talking about launching a podcast and you actually want to press launch on a podcast, come and join me on the 20th of September. There's a special discount code for all your amazing unconventionalists. Just use the discount code Podcast Tribe in small lower caps. That's Podcast Tribe to get 10% off any ticket, even the VIP ticket where you get to have a one-to-one session with me. But you can go and get all the information and ticket details below this video or in the show notes of this podcast or wherever you're listening this, or on the website, of course, theunconventionalists.com. Now, today's guest is a good friend of mine, an incredible human and an inspiration called Tony Riddle, who goes by the name of the Natural Life-Stylist on Instagram, who's built an epic following over the last few years. And I've seen this because he came on episode number 40. So you might recognize his voice from episode 40. And he was there at the origin story when I started the Unconventionalist back in my flat in Peckham on the floor with some rented microphones almost. And he's seen the incredible growth. I've seen his incredible growth. So it was great to sit back down. You're going to hear in today's conversation, really what he's learned, what journey he's been on, how sometimes you've got to check in with your ego and so forth. But more than that, the reason why he came on the show and the reason why we got back in the studio is he is going to be running on the 1st of September 30 miles for 30 days, every single day across the length of Britain to raise awareness about sustainability. And he's going to be doing that barefoot. You heard that right. He's going to be running barefoot across the UK, 30 miles for 30 days consecutively to raise awareness for a great cause. So if you want to go and support him, go and check him out. He's supporting 5 charities. It's all on his website. Go and check out the Natural Life-Stylists over on Instagram. You've got all the links over there. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the one and only Tony Riddle. Tony, welcome to the show, man. Again.
Well, yeah. I thought I'd come back when you'd refined things a bit. No.
It's a bit different, isn't it?
It is. What a nice setup. We're in a studio. You know.
So when you came last, it was episode 40. I was looking at some notes, man. It's crazy. You had 2 kids. You had a third on the go. You were 40.
You had no kids.
I had no kids. I had no kids. And you were going to turn 41 that year. You came to Peckham, where the original studio was. We were sitting on the floor. And we had 8,000 downloads on the podcast. We just hit 110,000. And your handle on Twitter was Feed the Human.
I know. I got fed up with that one.
I don't even know if you had an Instagram account. Yeah. But what a journey, dude. It's been really fucking awesome to watch you and just blow up, especially in the last, I want to say, 12 months, 18 months.
Well, your journey's been great to observe that too. I mean, it's been nice, man. Yeah.
So how are you doing right now? I mean, I know it's a bit crazy. We're going to be talking about your upcoming project, but how are you doing right now?
How am I doing right now? I'm doing all right now. Yeah. I think at the weekend I had I went to the back of the cave where the grizzly bear lies and sat with the grizzly bear for a bit and hit like rock bottom. Yeah. It was bloody awful. Okay. And I was in a state of being overtrained. Okay. And had so much on top. It was like, it felt like everyone needed a piece of me. Yeah. And being the weekend, it felt like then not only is everyone needs a piece of me, the kids need a piece of me, and I need to be really available. Yeah. And so I think it was rather like if you get a sponge and you squeeze the water out of a sponge, and then someone comes along and squeezes it and keeps squeezing it. Yeah. It just felt it was in one of those moments. Yeah. So it made me just go deeper into my own protocols and things that, of course, I recommend people would go through. Yeah. And I didn't spend long at the back of the cave. I came back out and visited the light again. So it wasn't so long. It was just just a deep. It's hard to explain because it's that I'm going into such depths with training now. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Into the reserves, and it's not like I'm going to be where I'm going, which we're going to discuss. It's not like I'm going to be on my run. This is now, I'm still doing everything else as well as that, you know, in preparation for it. And it's almost like I'm so looking forward to just
getting on with it.
Tearing through the start line. Do you know what I mean? Not the finish line. I just want to start the thing now. Yeah. And I think there's there's a little apprehension, I guess, in amongst all of that. Mm. So I mean, it's normal, but at the same time, I'm glad it's happened now. Okay. Because it would have been terrible if I'd gone through that overtrained feeling. Yeah. Almost depths of depression whilst being on the run. You know.
And do you think this is like an accumulation of just everything that's been going on? You doing like a media run, you training the kids, you know, baby on the way, like all that stuff kind of just piling on, or was there?
Well, I think it is, and it's accumulation. But as I say, it's, you know, and also understanding now, because I've been through all of that stuff years ago. Mm. It's a moment, and the quicker you can go, it's just a moment. Yeah, it'd be all right in a minute. Yeah, just do some breath. You know, sit and meditate for a bit. Yeah, get in a nice bath. Yeah, and then out pops another happy Tony. You know? And then it's also appreciating what the message is at the back of that cave. Okay. What did the grizzly bear tell Tony in that moment? Because he's a wise old bear, right?
What did you tell Tony?
And the wise old bear said, don't believe the hype. Mm. You know, it was basically, I'd gone from one podcast, another podcast, had another podcast released. And it was all about the physicality and me explaining about the physicality and the technique of what I'm about to do. And but I think it kind of, as it was going, I was growing, and I think I was going up to the top of dictator mode of you know, I'm the natural lifestylist, I'm doing this, rather than just the authentic self within it, living in divinity and just saying, you know, I'm about to do this run, and it's going to be a challenge. Of course it's going to be a challenge. I never denied that. It was just that, you know, we should all be able to do this, and we should be able to do this. That's the point. And so I'm trying to prove it, but I think I felt just almost like boasting rather than living it. And I think it's just taught me the lesson.
Over that edge of like,
just ever so slightly, and just hold on a minute. Let's give you the victim for a second. Yeah. Right, okay. I was being a dick. Yeah. Now I appreciate it. Now I'm back in the cycle of divinity.
Yeah. And so I would just want to pinpoint what you're talking about. You're going to be running for 30 days, 30 miles a day. You're going to be running across Britain barefoot. And when you say barefoot, in your words, butt naked. Your feet are going to be butt naked.
Indeed.
And along the way, you're going to be interviewing sustainable experts and influencers around that topic to try and raise awareness. And you're raising funds for 5 charities. across your Just Giving platforms. It's on your website, all that stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
You go to www.tonyriddle.com and you can pledge right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But, and before we get into that journey, actually, one of the things that, as I said to you, I don't normally prepare that much for a guest, but I wanted to go back to our interview and I listened. It's 2016 and it was your first podcast interview. I think you told me once.
It was.
Yeah, that's so mad. It's
the cherry.
Yeah, that was the first podcast you did, and I remember it's interesting to listening to it now because what I did is I listened to that one and I listened to one that came out on, is it Live Better, Move, some Dr.
Feel Better, Live More.
That's
Dr.
the one.
Rangan Chatterjee.
That's the one. So and I listened and I compared them, to try and understand. So the energy is like, there's a very similar energy, right? It's like you're still the same, but like it blew me away the stack of information and data and stats and like awareness in the second interview that you've kind of accumulated over the last 3 years. And I guess it's in line with, a project that you're working on also on the side, like you've been accumulating all this experience. But what have you found internally has changed, if anything, about yourself as you've gone through that journey of the last 3 years?
I think it wasn't that the knowledge wasn't there. Yeah. It was how to express it, or find my voice within it. Yeah, I feel because since then, I mean, I've gone off and talked about all kinds of journeys and whatever in the first podcast. And
yeah, for those listening, you can go back if you want to listen to Tony's smoking toads in his army,
ayahuasca
ceremonies, your cousin, your relationship, your previous wife. I mean, all this stuff.
All there, the background's
all
there.
Episode 40. Yeah.
But so much more has happened since then. So we lived in Ibiza for a bit, and we were living in Ibiza, and part of that was I was commuting back and forth. Yeah. And I got sick on one of the flights going back home to Ibiza to see Catherine and the girls. It was a really important weekend. It was like my birthday. It was our wedding anniversary, and it was Tallulah's birthday. Tallulah's my youngest daughter. Yeah, yeah. And really big weekend. And suddenly this woman kept on leaning over me on the flight. I kept leaning over, and I just thought, this is just really annoying me right now. Let's go. Just breathe, it'll be fine, And really, I should have just said, "Look, excuse me, do you mind just?" Yeah. But it was late at night. They were drunk, and it was just, Anyway, and someone that doesn't drink, I was sitting there just thinking, this is just typical behaviour. And I was a bit low, I think. So anyway, I think just the time of night leading up to that flight, sitting in that seat on the flight, and it's all happens for a reason. I know now that was exactly what needed to happen. Anyway, I fell asleep in the end with this fumes all around me, and I woke up and my throat had completely closed up, and I had trouble swallowing. It's like, oh my god, I think I got tonsillitis. And I had this temperature come on, and by the time I made it out of the airport, I just on the phone to Catherine, "Do you have ginger at home? I'm coming home, I feel rough." Arrived back at the finca we're living in, and everyone they haven't seen me for 4 days. Everyone was on me, It was like, this is great, but I'm dying. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed. I'll wake up and be fine the next morning. And I wasn't. It was worse. Okay. But I just said, look, we're going to go and celebrate no matter what. We're going to have some raw cake in Wild Beets in Santa Gertrudis and an amazing immune booster shot. Tastes terrible. It's got oregano oil in it, all kinds of stuff, and just so I made everyone have one. So they could all experience the truth. And my friend Jamie was there, Jamie Lorenz, and Jamie's like, "Tony, you right?" I said, "No, man, I feel really rough, but I'm getting through it. Yeah. You must go and see. You've got to go and see Abby, and she's known as Abby Poem on Instagram, right?" Oh yes, I remember this. Yeah, and she's basically a Kundalini crystal healer, right? Yoga teacher, but amazing healer. And he said, "You must go and see her." And I was like, "I would, man, but you know what? I just don't have the energy to even get over there right now." So no, you must go. Just think what you'd say to me if it was me. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, man. Let me just go and have some cake and drink the rest of the oregano and throw up, right?" So we do that, and then he comes over and he said, "No, it's done. It's a gift on me. It's your birthday. Go." So I managed to crawl over to Abby's. I mean, really in a rough state. Every step down to where she'd set up this amazing mandala with crystals, step by step, everything aching. And I sit down, and she says, "Tell me about your voice," immediately. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I started to explain, and we went into me not talking as a child, being a late talker. My parents taking me to see a speech specialist, and speech specialist like, it's because his sister's talking for him. And I was like, great, yeah. And then also when you go to the backstory, I was born with a deformity in my feet, and I had to have plaster cast boots, and then wear a pair of boots, a metal bar on, they prized them open. So I imagine there was some trauma. My intellectual story was telling me, there must have been trauma, I would have been screaming, no one was listening, therefore I stopped talking, then I was late to talk, and then blah, blah, blah. That was the story. Anyway, so Abby says, okay, lie down, puts these crystals on me, and then meditates next to me. Through her Kundalini, accesses my Kundalini, and then all of a sudden I hear all these voices come in, right, from God knows where, other beings, who knows, and it was kind of like, all the animals have their voices. This is your time now. We've given you everything you need to know. We need to start hearing you. And I was like, what the fuck? These crystals are amazing, man. But I didn't. I wasn't round by then. Anyway, and then she must have taken, anyway, when I heard the animals, suddenly all these animals started all around us. I hadn't heard them before. Peacocks, all kinds of dogs yapping. And then she pulled this crystal off my throat. And in that process, it was like cold air. And it's no word of it, I just got up. I just got up afterwards. I was like, wow, I feel amazing. Like there was nothing wrong. So it was like, if it was on film, you still wouldn't believe it. Yeah. So that was kind of the first thing I think about voice. Yeah. Then recently, I went to another ceremony. Right.
So just pause. Every time I see Tony, because we work together, you train with for a while. I got to experience your amazing coaching, and every time I'd see you, you'd have these stories, and I'm laughing because it's brilliant. You're my mate who always brings me this other normality of what life can be if you just give yourself permission to explore. And so you had another ceremony.
And I think that exploration is really important, and it has been for me because it's been profound, really, and it enabled me to, like you say, within that 4-year window, it's like. It's transformed me, really. Yeah. I felt that all the other previous ceremonies, I think with ayahuasca and the toad ceremony, all that, have all been about ascending. And you go these amazing visuals and beings come to visit you from other, just they give you profound information, which is great. Whereas this medicine was an African plant, and it basically goes internal. So it's about grounding. And it goes so deep into that subconscious, almost like it flips your subconscious up. And then you get to see all those really early traumas in the very first years, like the implicit stuff that nobody can access really, other than they perceive they can through an intellectual story, like what I was saying earlier. Oh, it must have been because my boots, and it must have been because of this. Yeah. But I got to see it completely differently. So it enabled me again to drop, really go in and actually drop the story. And which again and I think just allowed me to refine my message, because it's made it much easier for me to speak and much easier for me to just access my voice.
Give yourself permission as well.
Yeah, rather than my sister in that ceremony, rather than being taken to see a speech specialist, and the speech specialist said, well, it's because his sister's speaking for him, he's just being really efficient. It wasn't that. I got to see, first of all, it started off as an eyeball. So it was like me looking at you and I can only see your eyeball. Then suddenly I could see, it's my sister's head. There's her body, and there's me. And then I could suddenly, the more I went into the eyeball and into the scene unravelled into, and it's really weird, Mark, because 1 minute it's you, and the next minute it's like third party staring, which I guess is the consciousness or whatever, the subconscious.
This in the ceremony still?
This is in the ceremony.
Yeah.
And then I saw my sister then poke me on the shoulder. I'm going to talk for you. You're not to speak. That's what happened. Do you know what I mean? So then it was like, okay, and then once you have that, then you give forgiveness. Right, I forgive my sister for that. I mean, it's like she's a little kid, she doesn't know what she's doing. And then it cleared even further. So then
it was the forgiving yourself.
And then you forgive yourself, and then within the ceremony you forgive yourself. You always have like you experience stuff that's very different. Like we think we know forgiveness, and we think we know gratitude. In that, it's huge, man. It's like you feel it. Like every cell in your body understands what the gratitude is and what forgiveness is. Like I forgive myself, I've got to forgive my mum, my dad, my sister, my grandparents, God knows who else is in there. It's all forgiveness. Yeah. But I also got to see things I think were holding me back, like from really early childhood, being at the top of my parents' steps in their house. And my grandparents were over. My grandparents owned my parents' house, but they never officially gave them it with a signed document. It's yours, the deeds. Yeah. So then my mum, as it wasn't her mum, was always in this fear of our house being taken away. Yeah. And at one point my grandparents came and they had this discussion about my parents moving. And my mum flipped out, but I was only a little kid. So I couldn't process that other than our house is being taken away. And my mum's in a nightmare, having this nightmare. And it never got resolved. I then went to my room because I heard them come out of the room. So rather than me sitting there and them seeing me crying and maybe trying to resolve it, I then carried that. And that came up in that ceremony. And it enabled me to see it differently and let it go again. And that's part of me as being, things are really great right now, Mark. Any minute now, someone's going to swipe the rug from underneath my feet.
But I think that's, I want to say that's a feeling that a lot of people will feel. I think that it also often goes in the same territory. It's cousins with the fraud factor. The kind of idea that I'm going to be found out. Yeah. It's only a matter of time before someone's going to point out and say, you're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Who are you to do this? We've got you. The kind of the fraud police. But I remember because back then, again, when we first interviewed, you had a man bun. No, you didn't actually. You had long hair and a big beard.
Yeah.
You hadn't gone to the
I had a little ponytail.
Yeah,
top maybe.
That was it. But there was a moment that I remember because it started off. I want to say, was it the beard that was trimmed first, and then you had a dream? Do you remember that?
It was in Ibiza. And I had a dream. No, we were here. Sorry, we were here. We're actually staying. Funny, we're staying at my parents' house.
Yeah.
We're in my parents' house, and I had this dream, and I woke up at 4 a.m. from the dream, and the dream was very clear. It was kind of like we were in Ibiza, and we're on a beach, and the kids were just playing around on the beach. It was beautiful, one of those movie settings, The kids are and you just hear in the background laughter, and just beautiful. The elements and the feeling of the sun and the sand and the sea, and looking back and seeing this beautiful place that we had that was basically like a retreat space, and just everything was perfect. And then suddenly I was presented with a pair of clippers and a mirror.
In the stream?
In the stream.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it was like, oh my God, I've got to shave my hair off. Yeah.
Because you'd been hesitating about it. I remember you thought about it, but then you weren't. Like it was.
But the dream was this, that the reality of Ibiza, it was amazing. Like it was amazing for the kids watching them grow up there. They could just be naked, butt naked. Just
roam free
and become wild. And it's a little bit heartbreaking when you see them here because they ask for permission.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we do this on the heath? And we're like, what the... whereas there it's just, can we go into the beach? They get in the car naked, drive to the beach naked. Yeah. Whereas, so what that side of it was amazing. The flying back and forth wasn't, and also the financial stress.
I remember you used to commute all the time. I remember because we used to train together, and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm off on Thursday or Friday," and then you come back on the Monday. Yeah.
So it was mad, but it was amazing at the same time. But I'd condensed everything in 3 days in London,
that was
so it ramped things up. So it's like imagine trying to do what you're doing in 3 days. And then expect to do some of it when you get back, but you're so blasted, you just want to treat the island as recovery. So the island become recovery. It was the first 6 months amazing. 9 months in, already creeping in that this is no longer growth promoting thrive state. Yeah. This is survival with protocols that are enabling you to think you're thriving. But the reality is, it's not entirely honest, right? And that's where the dream came in. The dream was almost like, the man bun is a representation of something that isn't. It's dishonest. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't honest. And the reality was, my hair was thinning and I was losing my hair. So I was like, what was it? It was like the hipster version of a comb over. Do you know what I mean?
Donald Trump.
You just put it up on top and put a thing in. When you let it go, there's a patch behind you where you actually you remove the man bun. So it was going. My hair was losing my hair, and I put that down to that stress of that moment. Okay. First of all, the commute, but also the financial responsibility of supporting a lifestyle in London and supporting a lifestyle in Ibiza. And things were I was still trying to I was still spinning plates or still boiling saucepans, it was getting to that point where actually things weren't quite taking off. Yeah. And how can I expect to execute things properly with that going
limited,
on? Yeah. And that limited bandwidth, right? Because the time I'm in London and the time I'm there. And also I was writing a book, right? Yeah. And so that was going on, that process was going on. And then it had gone out to say 10 publishers at that time. And it was, you don't have a large enough platform.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I wasn't sure because the problem when I interview my mates, when I interview people, is like this. I never know what is public knowledge and what is private knowledge, right? And I wanted to actually touch base on that because I remember when we were meeting up and you were like, I had a chat with this publisher and they basically were like, because back then, I don't even know how many followers you had on Instagram. It was,
I do, 2,650.
Well, there you go. You had 2,650 followers and they were like, you don't have enough big enough platform, so we can't even look at this book. And we thought, how ridiculous is this?
It wasn't that. It was like we met and I was with my literary agent at the time. And they actually sat and said, oh my God, we've got goosebumps. This is amazing, this book. This is exactly what we want. You're looking at a spring, it's 2019 book. So that would have been this year, right?
Yeah.
Lots, amazing stuff. I even in the lift on the way down with my literary agent.
She was like, I've never seen that.
She said, I've never had a meeting like that with him. That's amazing. But you never know. And so I then flew back to Ibiza, I think, on the Thursday. And this goes back to that dictator-victim model again. Yeah. I went back like, we got a book deal.
I remember,
We didn't have a book deal. First of all, it should have just been, okay, just stay in the pocket of...
There's an exciting potential opportunity.
Exactly, rather than celebrating something that isn't quite there yet. And I think the universe doesn't really provide for that. Anyway, in that moment of me self-congratulating, masturbating, whatever you want to call it, the ego, I'm getting published. Something happened anyway. And so by Monday morning, when I was then returning back to London, I got the call to say, have you thought about... this other publisher? And I was like, why would I think about the other publisher? What about this one?
We had a good
it didn't work out for them. It went off to it gets presented to the team, and then the team decide whether financially, I guess, they can make a book work, whether the numbers work. Let's call it the numbers. Can the numbers work?
Yeah.
And that was based on my platform, and I didn't have a large enough platform. So it wasn't the content, it was the platform. And I get it, you get it, we all get it. It's a business, man. And you know what? If they can't make the figures work, it doesn't matter how good the content is.
It's like investment banking. The way that you look at publishers is they've got a number of authors they invest in. They know that one or two will pop out of like the 20 or 100 that they invest in, and they're just going to make sure, does the marketing add up?
They back those, you know, the lead. Yeah. And the rest of the horses are there to make up the race, right?
But you were frustrated. Like there was a part of you that was like,
man, I was devastated. Yeah. It was like watching a hot air balloon going up, and then suddenly it bursting into flames, coming back down again. It was like one of those moments. Do you know what I mean?
Did you go and see the grizzly bear? Were you back in the cave in that moment?
I think the three bears were there.
But
okay. I think that was the start of the removal of the Goldilocks.
Yeah. But then you went on, you know, what I found incredible, actually seeing, you know, from the outside at least, then something happened. You just, as you said, you found your voice, you started to be more kind of vocal about your beliefs, you started to be, and anyone who follows you on Instagram, and if they don't, because you used to be at Tony Riddle back then, but you changed then to the Natural Life-Stylist. Yeah, really quick, how was that to change from Tony Riddle to Natural Life-Stylist? How did that come about?
I think it can. Well, initially, I built a website, and the website, we wanted to call it Natural Lifestyle Coaching.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? It's just simply rewilding, right?
Yeah.
And but it's still TonyRiddle.com, but underneath there it's like the Natural Lifestyle Coach. Okay. And originally, the people that were designing it, I said, well, I really like the Natural Life-Stylist, and they were like, it's not really you, it's about it's about being a lifestylist, and you know it doesn't quite add up. And I was like, yeah, okay, but I really like it anyway. And then we dropped it. Then I had a piece, Fern Britton from the Sunday Times. Sunny sends me this email saying, I'm interested in interviewing you for 6 best coaches or something like that. I was like, okay, I'll meet with you. And I went to their offices. And we were there. I was there for probably half an hour describing what it is I do, and she said, "Oh my God, this is much bigger. I just thought it was going to be about you coaching movement or something, but it's actually movement is just one component, one modality of a physical self, and there's a social self and a spiritual self." And so once you started to see, there's sleep, there's digestion, there's play, there's sunlight, there's all this stuff's within it. So she said, "I'm going to give you a full piece. So we'll do like a 2-pager." And I was like, wow, okay. And then suddenly it meant that, rewilding for me just means that, looking into the natural beings and natural places of the world to find ways of living that are more in sync with human biology. Yeah. But people don't get rewilding, and so it needed something. So I think that was kind of, that was the birth of that kind of alter ego, I guess, of that, the Natural Life-Stylist.
Yeah.
it's nothing changes, just a guise really for saying I'm a rewilding coach, but people just rewilding's get a bit more press now, right?
Yeah. So were you scared when you changed it, when you went on your social like Instagram and you changed the name? Did you remember that? Was there a bit like a fear of letting go of the name Tony Riddle and adopting this?
Well, I think it's obvious. It just meant that it could become something bigger, like a business, or it is something bigger.
Yeah.
You know,
and it has. I mean, it's great.
I'm still Tony Riddle, right?
Yeah.
It's just it just means that I'm AKA the Natural Life-Stylist, right?
But there's something else I want to share, especially people listening, because a lot of the things I hear people say is, even people I know in our kind of industry who've got quite a big profile, they're still really fearful of Instagram stories and recording themselves and speaking to the camera. And I often use you as an example. Obviously, go and follow my mate Tony Riddle. Because like when you're on the camera, it's like, oh, what's up, guys? 6 a.m. Yeah, it's good Tuesday. And you're like, but like you're you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No, but you're not like, because I have this default that sometimes I'm like, hi guys, welcome to my life, and I become this persona, this character, and I really have to catch myself. And was that always natural for you, or was there a part of you that felt a little bit awkward at first? And how do you get over that?
I think going back to in the first podcast, and I talk about the fraud, right? Where I'm standing in my boxing club in the boxing ring. And I've got these personal trainers in the room, and I'm presenting a philosophy to them. That's basically the Natural Life-Stylist again, but wasn't living it. And the train blasts through the door. It's like a epiphany. It's like one of those moments like, wow, okay, I'm a fraud. Whoa, boom. I go bankrupt. I break down. I have to rebuild myself. Then I understand, of course, over that period of time, it's happened to me. You know,
for a reason.
You know, so then you realise, it's happening for me, and that enabled me I dropped the fraud in that moment, because I realised I actually just live it. It was just a fact of the Natural Life-Stylist. I'm living my natural lifestyle. That's all I'm doing. So for me to just pick up stories, all I'm doing is recording what I'm doing. That's the weird thing about it as well. It's like, I'm just being me. Yeah. And every post is just me. The message is consistent because it's just me. I'm not being someone else. I'm the Natural Life-Stylist, but it's Tony Riddle, the Natural Life-Stylist. Yeah. That's what I'm doing, and this is my life. And I think stories are an amazing opportunity. Like I almost view Instagram as like my blog, right? Yeah. And you can put a nice image up, and you can write some content. I like that, and it's a photo album with content, right? But stories is like the behind the scenes, isn't it? It's like, this is what really happens. Yeah. Go and have a look at it. Yeah. You know, like filming today. Well, let's get the BTS stuff going. Let's get the BTS stuff behind the scenes. Yeah. But just this is behind the scenes. This is what we do, and so I think you actually inspire me a little bit here, because you said something like, it's about the number of followers. What would I say to that? That was it. It was
the one.
That was getting those people in the room. So try and fill the room with. So for me now, if I was to fill a room with 21,300 followers, there you go. Wait a minute, I'll get toppled into victim mode now. Hold on, I'm going back into divinity. But
take that, publisher.
Yeah, with 21,300 followers, if I put them in one room, what would I say to them? Yeah, that was it. And what would I say to them? Just be yourself, right? Just be more human, and be the best example of a human being, right? That's how we create social change, is through being the change, right? Not through telling people, this is what you need to do, you should be all doing this. It's just, good morning, peeps. Happy Tuesday.
It's a frisky Tuesday. Yeah. It's like,
look up there, and I go, look, it's blue up there.
It's like literally, but that's literally how Tony's. What you see right now is what Tony's stories are. Because I'll see it, and I'll be like, oh, what's up, Tony?
But the amount of messages I get, it's like, I can't believe the morning messages are just so
I love
brilliant.
It, but I love seeing that it really took off, and that your community really, took it up. And I love it when I see on your stories people saying, hey, I've been inspired by, at the Natural Life-Stylist, I'm doing squat snacks and, rewilding my feet and all this stuff that I've been hearing you doing and that you were doing with me when we were training, and seeing that now taking up this whole kind of movement. But now you went from 2,000, obviously at one point, to now 21,000. And honestly, is there a part of you that is a little bit more hesitant about what you post? Do you feel like there's a bit more pressure that you have to post? That if you don't post, you feel bad about it? Like, do you feel like it's changed your relationship to it in some way, the bigger you've got?
I'll tell you what, Mark, I was panicking coming over here because I normally post at 4 p.m. No, I'm joking. I
did you go through it?
I prep it. I just say, like, I'm only going to post once a day anyway.
Yeah.
I do like one post image a day.
Yeah.
And then it depends on what's there. Like sometimes I might come out of a morning meditation and go, this is really interesting. I wrote one about the steps of enlightenment, right? Step 1, you know. I can read it. It's on my phone. It's actually quite funny. You know, and about and hitting compassion and moving on through compassion. Yeah. It was about different terms for shit. You know? Yeah. And yeah, so I sometimes I just wake up and go, I'm going to post that. So it might change. Whereas the day before I deliberately have an image and I know what I'm going to write for the next day, and it's already in place. So I only have to hit go. There's no pressure there. It might take half an hour of thought to do that, and then to compile something might be an hour, right? But it's a huge platform, that, you know. And you know, if you do write a book, how many copies are you going to sell? You don't know.
Yeah. Let's say if you sold 21,000, that would be instant bestseller.
Exactly, but this is like the modern day book in a way. It's like just what we're doing, right? You still get a message out there. It may not have the kudos of a book, but it's amazing content, right? That you can put out into the world. That again that's the way I look at it. I think it's a fabulous tool for that. So it doesn't stress me. I don't find I get stressed with Instagram. Okay.
Because I remember there was one point we were saying, so like I think one of the things when I started seeing your Instagram kind of grow, and I know people listening to this are just interested about how do you get to be yourself, how do you broadcast yourself, stay true to who you are, get to serve more people and have fun, right? Like that's kind of what people are looking for. And at one point I remember you were doing a few collaborations, or people start mentioning you. Like I remember it was the sisters,
Jasmine.
That was it, Jasmine. Yes.
Hemsley.
I remember her posting something on her Instagram about you and squatting, or I forgot what it was. It was like something about some exercises.
Chair care. It's kind of a chair care program.
That was it. Did you see like, I don't want to say spikes, but did you see your community growing the more you were kind of doing these collaborations with different people who had already a following? Did you feel that helped in a bit?
Absolutely. I think it's if you're trying to grow a following, like a podcast, right? A podcast is this. Why'd you do a podcast?
Because I love interviewing people like you who do crazy stuff and inspire me.
Yeah, and you get to sit, you actually get to sit and have a conversation. No mobile phone on the table right now. We're just looking at each other in the eye and we're having a proper conversation.
Yeah. Who, by the way, recently a guest told me I was really intense, and I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like you hold gaze, and I was like, "What else am I going to do? You're in front of me."
That's a conversation.
Yeah.
It could be like this.
Sorry,
I'm not going to look at you anymore. Sit down at the mic.
Like a podcast. Like someone said to me, because I wanted to do a podcast, right?
I remember.
And it was a great way to meet people.
Yeah.
You know, and a great way to grow a following is the same thing. It's the same thing with Instagram. If you want to go and meet amazing people, just go. Just say, right, okay, who resonates with me? Who do I want to be associated with? Who do I want in my tribe? Who do I want to communicate with? Mm-hmm. And just say to them, I'm going to come and visit you, and just go. You're not a happy pair, I'll go and hang out with a happy pair.
Yeah.
And you know what?
How did you?
I think they've probably done more for my Instagram account than anyone.
Because how did you meet them in the first place?
It's insane. Like you go and see them, because I think they have a proper, true following. You know, they're like really inspirational, and people. They again, their thing was about social change. That's what they've always been about. It's how do they do good and bring around social change? I think that was what the Happy Pair originally were even about, right? Okay. It wasn't even going to be called the Happy Pair. It was like Flinner's fruit and veg for social change.
Twins, right? For people who don't know them, they're twins, and it's
David
written.
And Stephen Flynn.
That's pair. It, and it's written pair like a fruit.
Yeah,
the Happy Pair. Yeah,
that Happy Pair. They're two twins, and they go off studying university in completely different geographic locations, and then on the same day, pretty much go, I'm turning vegetarian, and then one says, "No way, so am I."
Yeah.
And that's it. And then suddenly,
I met one when I was with you, and he's like, the first thing he told me was like, "How's your gut bacteria?" Yeah. That's a terrible Irish accent. I apologise, but he was like, "How's your gut bacteria?"
I thought we were on catchphrase for a minute.
But the first thing he said is, I was like, I don't know. I need to have a test about that. But yeah. So and then how did you meet them? How did you come across them?
Well, after your I reached out to you about podcasting.
Yeah.
And we did a little session, didn't we? Which I recommend people do. Is just, you know, if you want to start a podcast, go and see Mark, because it's amazing work. And it was everything I needed, and they were like going to be my. I was going to go over and interview them.
That was it. I remember.
So I go all the way over to Greystones.
This is an island, puppy listening.
And there was probably a bit that was missed out of the tutorial. Was to make sure that you pressed the record button twice on the Zoom, and I hadn't. So I sat and recorded. We did this amazing podcast, and I was saying, look, you guys really inspired me. You know, because previously I'd look at plant-based guys, and they're like, these were actually two muscular dudes.
Yeah. And they were cool.
They were living it, and it wasn't just that it was the height, it was the energy levels. Just the energy around those two. It was like, okay, these are great guys. Let's go and spend some time with them. Yeah. And I want to record them, and I wanted to record about not just the physical needs, but the social environment, because they're amazing community that they've grown there. Yeah. So I arrive and we get the mics out and we record for an hour and a half or whatever it was, and then I go, mics out, mics back, and then we hang out, and then all this amazing stuff happened. I stay at their parents, and
it's like an open house. Everybody's there.
Yeah, we're going to have a swim in the morning, go to brekkie and do this, and just give you a goodie bag to go home with, Tony, and then we just hit it off, and which was great, really amazing. But I arrive home and there's nothing. I haven't recorded a thing.
I remember this.
And then they were like, don't worry about it, man, just come back over. I was like, it's great, it's an excuse to go back over there. I mean, even if I had recorded, I should have said, no, I didn't record.
Yeah.
So I go back over, and anyway, I just decided in the end that I think for now I just need to be a guest on a podcast, and I'll learn through that experience, and when I'm ready I'll start a podcast.
I thought it was brilliant I remember you told me, you said, I realised that actually I much prefer being interviewed than being on the other side of the microphone. Yeah. And I thought that's brilliant. I think 100%, like I so get that, and then it's sort of going, and has your interview been out on Rich Roll podcast yet, or?
Rich Roll podcast comes out on the 25th. So that's
of August?
Of August. That's Sunday.
All right. For people who don't know, like Rich Roll's kind of got a cult following. He's got a big kind of following in America. He's got a really big podcast. And I remember when you told me, because it was, again, all the things that connect the dots, right? You went to a talk, you met him through the Happy Pair, all this stuff, you guys connected, and then you invite, hey, Tony, you should come over to LA and do the podcast. And you were like, okay, I'm coming over.
Yeah, it's interesting how things work out. Yeah, cause exactly that. I mean, Rich really inspired me to give up alcohol. One of the messages within his podcasting, anyway, along with what's happened in ceremonies, it was just okay, I need to do that. And then again, one of the plant-based kind of influence, I would say, and then just the fact that this guy's, this. What was he voted one of the top 10 fittest people on the planet, and his backstory, right? Really,
the story's incredible. Anybody who hasn't just go and check out his podcast. You'll hear it.
And I just find everyone I'd listen to, I'd be like, wow, it's another good. Just hit it out of the park again. It was like every podcast.
He's a great interviewer. Really like for someone like me who I really appreciate the art of interviewing, I've got to say, like I listened to his interview doing. Is it Alex Hanold? Is it the guy who climbed El Capitan?
Yes.
Free solo.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this, if you watch that documentary, go and listen to both the interviews he did with Alex and with a couple of the directors. Incredible interviews. Anyway, sorry.
That's all right, man.
Yeah. So you were saying about like how you enjoyed it and you got inspired by him.
Yeah, and I just and so the Happy Pair then said, oh, Rich is coming over for a talk, and I said, I'll be there. So I'd go over for the talk, and then they then said, oh, we're going, and that was it. I was leaving that night, so I'd arrived the day before. And then we chilled out. We were going to go for a run with Rich, but he was jet lagged. And he had a talk at Google, I think, before coming to do a talk with those guys. So then afterwards, they were all like, oh, yeah, we're going to go to dinner. Do you want to come? And I'd promised the kids I was going to be back to go camping the next day. So that wasn't going to happen. So I was like, no, man, I mean, how often do you get invited out to dinner with Rich Roll? I'm not going to go. I've got priorities. I have to go back. So we messaged. That was that. Put to one side. And then I recorded with another guy, Social Fabric. Podcast, socialfabric.ie. Andrea, amazing guy. It's like Desert Island Discs, and he mixes music in as it goes along. It's quite cool, and he goes out on Irish radio.
That's really cool.
And we sat down and recorded. And a guy who is a meditation coach in Greystones, who worked with a Happy Pair, worked with Rich Roll. He listens to that podcast, and he says, he messaged me to say, Tony, amazing podcast, but I think you can go deeper. It's time to go global, man. Yeah. So I've forwarded it to Rich, right? So it's gone off to Rich Roll.
Yeah.
And then literally I open my inbox, and there was a message from Rich saying, if you're swinging by LA at any point, Do you want to drop in for a podcast?
Oh,
and I was like, well,
I remember what you told
so
me.
I messaged back to say, well, I wasn't, but I am now. So anyway, so I booked the flights quite quickly after that. But leading up to that, this is what we missed out.
Yeah.
Because up until by the new year, we have 3 children, right? So the new year, and Katerina said, we're never going to have another child. That's it. We're done. We needed to move house, and I wanted to stay in Hampstead. I want to be somewhere near the Heath.
Yeah.
I want to get my book in with a publisher, and I wanted to get on the Rich Roll podcast. Anyway, we do these every New Year or every celebration. I do a fire ceremony.
Yeah,
right?
of course you do.
I'm going to go all hippie on you all. Right. So we do a fire ceremony, and I say to the kids, right, we're going to write down 4 things that you want to bring in for this year. You put them on a piece of paper. We put them in the fire. But then we danced around the fire, right? And you're chanting what it is you're bringing in, right, in your head. So not everyone knows, right? I think it won't come in if you tell it people, you know. And on my 4 pieces of paper, I wrote, I want to have a son. I want to find a place near the Heath, and I want to get on the Rich Roll podcast, and I'm going to book him with a publisher. We moved into a new place in February. On the day we moved in, Katerina conceived. Yeah. And we're having a boy.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
It feels like every time you come on this podcast, Katerina's pregnant.
Yeah. If Katerina's listening, she'd
be putting everything in your way to do another podcast, you know that. And that would be the best contraception. You're going on Mark's? No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Don't even mention his name.
Don't come near me.
Yeah. And I wanted to get I'm meeting with a publisher. I've got one publisher approach me, and I'm meeting with another publisher on Wednesday. So it all came in.
Yeah.
Within a short window of time.
Yeah. And so I haven't announced this yet on the podcast, but I'm going to announce it now. So I'm expecting also, and you know this because obviously I've told you before, but I'm expecting a boy as well, like, you know. And so we're both expecting our first boys.
Yeah.
When is around the due date for you?
I think anywhere between the 18th of October and the 1st of November. Pretty much when I get back from my run.
Got it. Okay. So get back in time. Yeah. So so our baby is due in December, like 3rd of December, right? So we're going to be about a month apart. How are you feeling? Because I know that you've raised 3 incredible daughters.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have a son. So how do you feel about having a son?
How do I feel about him? I mean, amazing, of course. It's just, you know what, if we were having another daughter, it would have been just as amazing. Yeah. I think just for the change to have a son, you know, it was either that or get a dog, you know.
Yeah, because I remember...
Because sometimes it gets a bit on top in the house, you know, and I'm like, I'm really outnumbered here.
Yeah.
But, you know,
because you said this in the previous podcast. You had just found out that you were expecting a girl, and because you said, I'd love to have a boy, and then you expect a girl. You're like, what a gift! Yeah. I get to be, because it was in our first episode we talked a lot about, conscious masculinity and all that kind of stuff, and you were like, it's been a real gift to kind of raise, be the best man I can be and raise these incredible women, and now you're having a son.
I know. Yeah. So now the girls have done all the work on me, and now I'm basically an appropriate example of a male to raise a son. Yeah. I mean, you could look at it that way, right? Yeah. I feel it's kind of like, was I ready for a son? No, clearly not. Yeah. Otherwise, they would have come into the world already.
So 4 kids. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about it? I feel great, man. I mean, I'd have more. If I could have more, I'd have more. I really would. I love having kids, man.
No, I love having kids
because they're amazing. They're just amazing. They teach you so much, and I know part of that. How my message is growing. It's because it's growing because of my kids. It's been like just watching these, as I've been quoted saying, they're innately wild, connected, empowered beings, right? And the key is for us to create these amazing environments that enables them to stay connected, wild, and empowered. Yeah. Unlike us, who have to go and get rewilding, reconnected, and go and wear empowered t-shirts, right? They already have that. So I think, if I can create an environment that can enable them to keep their superpowers, then great. And I think, when is it enough kids when you can no longer provide that environment? And I guess for now, 4 will be enough for us, unless we can move away somewhere and live in yurts and set up a proper community, a cult or something like that.
Mate, you're just on the beginning. Just start the cult. You said to somebody, if you don't have a community, start one.
Yeah, but I think it's ability. But you know, I've met with, you know, my friend of ours, Bruce Parry, right?
Yeah.
Tribes, and we met and we discussed something in Ibiza, and it's along the lines of, you know, about community. And you have to be so careful with this. I want to set up a community.
Sure. Because
that means it's I want to set up a community.
Yeah.
And there is no I in a community. That's the point.
Yeah.
You know, it's well, there is, because interdependence, but it's not independent sets up that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'd love to live within a community where
I get that.
You know, where it's everyone's aligned. You know, you have similar beliefs, and then you can establish roles within it and an amazing community with amazing family and friends, which then would be the appropriate environment to probably raise more kids. But then we have to look at sustainability as an example.
Yeah.
You know, a very wise friend said recently, you know, this thing about sustainability, and I'm going to interview sustainability experts on my run, is that I was looking at different apparel, like what company should I go to? And Lululemon gave me some kit, and whenever I mentioned Lululemon and I was talking about sustainability, people were like, well, I'm not too sure about that. And I said, well, they still have a sustainability model, you know. And my friend said, well, this is the thing about sustainability. Is, you know, if you don't want to make an impact, don't have a business. Yeah. You know, it's true. It's really hard. We have an impact just by being here. Yeah. We have an impact now, right? Yeah. That's what we're doing. We've got the lights on in here, right? We've got electricity going. Yeah. Just the very fact we're here now, it's an impact. So in terms of sustainability and environment. So there is this part of me is like, well, should we really be bringing more kids into the world right now on that model? You know, so I guess that's another conversation somewhere else. I get that. That's where I feel, just in terms of impact that we're having on the world. But in that same conversation, because they're innately wild, connected, and empowered beings, they might have the solution. Yeah. Because we don't, right? Yeah. As Greta Thunberg is proving out, right? To us. Proving to us.
I think she's on the boat right now, isn't she? She's saying,
you know, and that's a young 16-year-old. And there were people 16 years ago saying, no, I don't think you should bring more kids into this world because of the environment and because of sustainability. Yeah. I had someone jump on my stories, that very same thing. How can you even consider having another child like this? Really terrible message. Yeah.
Did you get these kind of weird messages from people? Do you get people saying you're too extreme, or
no, not that.
You're weird? Like no.
But I had one the other day when a woman said, "I love all the barefoot stuff you're doing and all the awareness you're raising for sustainability and the environment. But can we please have more images with your top on, just for equality reasons?" And I was like, equality, but I've got to wear a top because what do you mean? And it was like, because of on Instagram, I'm not allowed to not have my top on.
Because of the laws or something, or they get banned, or
well, you just have to put stickers on your nipples and it'd be okay. But you know, why should I wear more clothes? Just because you can't wear more clothes? I mean, it was a little bit absurd, I felt, and you can't base an equality model through Instagram, right? It's just not possible. Yeah. Otherwise, what can of worms would we open up there? We wouldn't have Instagram, would we? Yeah. You know?
Because I remember in 2017 or 2018, your best posts of the year. Do you remember this? You did a grid, and they're basically most of them with you without your top on. It was basically Tony Riddle's top post this year. All the pictures of Tony half naked. People like ripped.
But that's how you'll see me. Yeah. I know if I'm running out there now, I'm running with my top off. I'm just in a pair of shorts or a pair of leggings. That's what I go out like. So I say it's very difficult for me to get shot sometimes with my clothes on because I might be with the kids and I don't want to be doing too much of that. Yeah. And also based just around equality, that talking about Bruce Parry is that, you know, to understand equality, it's like everything else. To understand movement, I have to look to nature. If I have to understand sleep, I look to nature. So you want to understand equality, you go to these tribes that are living in that tropical belt, and that's equality. There's anarchy, right? There's no leader, and the male and female they completely aligned with who they are, and they have ceremonies where they come together, but they honour each other's independent roles, right? Which is amazing. And that's equality. That's their equality. That's how it looks in nature. Look, there's no tribal leader in those camps, right? Male or female.
I get that.
And they've all got their top off.
Yeah. I love that. I always love it. I see pictures of you just taking a photo of yourself, and I'm just like, how is Tony that ripped? But it's all this natural movement stuff, isn't it? So before you take a photo, do you contract your muscles a little bit? Do you breathe out?
I don't do all that stuff. I told you, just do what I do. Like, there you go. I'm not tensing anything right now. Dictator, victim.
For people listening,
I'll go out of here. I'll leave here with a big belly now. That'll be the laws
take
of
a photo of like with the before and after.
Back in divinity.
So we're coming towards the end of the conversation. I just want to make sure we spend some time on the actual big project coming up. So you're running, man. You're running barefoot. How is this? Because this feels like it's taken a life of its own now. It feels like I remember when you first mentioned, I think I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna run barefoot. This is a few years back, and now it's materializing and it's happening. 1st of September.
Yeah, the initial seed was it was a few years ago, and then at Christmas I think I made a commitment. I'm going to do it. We didn't know we were having another baby at that point. I'm not sure that would have deterred me anyway, but I decided, I'm going to run for Land's End on the Groats, but I'm not going to just do that. I'm going to create a platform.
Yeah. Because
if I say I'm doing it barefoot, butt naked barefoot, it raises socially extreme eyebrows.
Okay.
Not biologically normal eyebrows, socially extreme eyebrows. People are like, what the? Because it's perceived as so extreme that it will enable me to create a platform. And with that platform, again, we can bring around some social change. So it's I've done all this amazing physical, social, spiritual work. I'm this enlightened being. I've reached the top of the pyramid right now. And what shall I do with it? Okay, let's do this. I feel great. I feel amazing. And we're in a great position in life now. Why don't we go and do something else? And I can do it. So I'm going to go and do it. And that's what it felt like. And so Saturday was a different conversation with myself about that, but today it's back again. It's that's what I wanted to do it for. So the idea is that I'm doing 30 miles a day for 30 consecutive days.
It's almost that's more than a marathon, right?
Yeah, so it means I'm running marathon's 16.2, so I'm running another 3.8 per day.
A marathon's 16.2?
26.2, sorry.
I was I'm pretty sure that's half a marathon.
26.2. He doesn't know what he's talking about. 26.2. So I've got that. So 3.8 is right? 3.8? Yeah, 3.8. I've got 3.8 to do each day extra.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll probably do, I think it works out, I'll probably do about 20 miles. And then I meet with a sustainable environmental expert or influencer, whoever.
Yeah.
And we get the mics out. And
what platform are you into?
I'm going to do it YouTube. I'm going to do YouTube.
Got it.
IGTV, Instagram Live.
Okay.
So whatever we can get out. And then I have someone joining me who James Joyce's name. He's driving and he's also got great media skills. So it's going to be recording content. So he's doing all this stuff the setting up. So I don't have to, because we all know I'm pants at that. So he'd be pressing record twice, not me. And I just have to be there make sure I'm there with the mic and make sure Tony rocks up to be able to do an interview that day himself, right? And then I sit down, we do the interviews, and then hopefully James will, while I'm then completing the rest of the run, and others are encouraged to join me at that point where the interview is. And then it creates hopefully a Forrest Gump effect where you can then run with us.
Run, Tony, run.
Yeah, and you can do the 10 miles, but along with the influencer if that's what they want to do.
Okay.
And then Katarina and the girls are also joining us.
Oh, that's nice.
So they're going to get to see the whole of the UK at the same time.
Oh, that's really cool.
I say the whole of the UK. They're going to see the line that I've chosen up the UK. Because it was only 879 miles, but I wanted to do I want to do a 30-30, so I upped it. So it made
I like
it
that, but you know what? I like that because there's a more compelling, memorable. He's doing 30 miles in 30 days rather than he's running 800 miles. It's a bit abstract. It's a bit like what is it? How does that represent? So what I love about this conversation, we're doing it before you start. I'd love to hear, what are your intentions? Like if you had to come back to this podcast and listen to this once you're done, what do you want to set up as an intention for yourself as you go through this process, as you kick off on the first and you go through this journey? What do you want for yourself?
Health and happiness. That's all I require, man. Health and happiness.
Okay. What do you think you will feel like by the end of it?
Happy and healthy. No.
It's like, fuck you, Tony.
I think as long as exactly.
Answer the goddamn question.
I think as long as I It's Mr. Riddle turns up every day.
Yeah.
And I can. It's not just about me running. You see, I have to make sure I turn up every day for those experts because they're turning up for me.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. That's where I really want to go. That I'm happy and healthy, and I can sit there behind the mics and make sure I'm present. I can hold space for the interview, and Tony is available for that.
Okay.
I also, I've got to. Also, there's more happening when I get back. We've got a baby on the way, and I just think health and happiness. And as long as I can, fulfill the run, make sure I can complete the run. That's the health and the happiness within it, And at the end of it, I'm going to lose the shoes, man. Do you know what I mean? So that initial stage of my birth and the story and the being born with a deformity in my feet. I've just
what? I think it's so funny. I was going to ask you, how old were you when that happened?
Born like it, and then I had 12 weeks in plaster cast that had to be changed every week. And then probably, I think, first up until the age of 2, I guess.
Yeah, because I was going to say, what would you want to say to your, 2-year-old self now? Looking back at that 2-year-old and you say you wanted to give him a message, what would you say?
Well, that it didn't happen to you, it happened for you, right?
Yeah.
And you chose that birth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the other thing we need to all look at. I got to see that in that ceremony. It was like, I chose that. I chose to come out the womb a month late. Yeah, so there's no room in the womb, right? It was the ultimate form of adaptation. So I had to adapt because I was the longest baby on history in Reading Hospital. Why I didn't want to come into the world is another story, but there was this element of that's it. So I chose that. I chose that I wasn't ready to come out in the world. So I guess that, again, finishing the run will be losing the shoes, letting that go.
Yeah, I love that.
And then and then onwards and upwards to the next.
Is there any fear? Is there anything that you apprehend about the journey? Is there anything that is kind of like niggling in the back of your mind that you're trying to still address or be with or explore or get curious about?
I think it's more the logistics, Mark.
Okay.
It's a bit like the podcast situation. Sure. Do you know what I mean? It's just making sure that, again, when we say we're going to be in a space, we're there, we're available, that we have a location to record, that we have this going on, that everything's in place, that every time I arrive, that's available. The running side of it, don't want to go too high into dictator mode, but I from what I understand of it so far, you get stronger as you go, and there's so many variables there that can change that what are the expectations? I don't know. Anything could happen along the route, right? Yeah. So all I know is I at this stage in the conversation, no, I have no fears about the physical self. Okay. It's more what would be the things that are outside of that, and we have no control over that. So is there fear over that? No, it's not fear. I'd say it's more like maybe it's fear of the unknown even. But again, it's more of the variables around the stuff that we're doing, not the run, the more the logistics.
The technical stuff. And
because that's sometimes for me is the stuff that has a habit of breaking. No, not the only one.
Yeah, it's particles.
It happens. And so I'm sure everyone's totally aware of that. They're all professionals I'm dealing with. Yeah. And they know what I'm basically about to do, the challenge of it.
I think there needs to be a bit of compassion on everyone's side, right? It's kind of like,
we all need compassion.
Yeah,
right?
In general, but I think it's just like, okay, you're going to do your best, they'll do their best, and the rest will be. But it's amazing, man. I'm really excited to see, how this is going to go about, and you'll be, I guess, documenting it or diarying on your Instagram stories or something like that. Like, are you planning?
Every day. Okay. So again, Tony Riddle on YouTube, you'll find that at the Natural Life-Stylist Instagram. We'll be all over that. We have a map up as well. There's also, through the website, you can join the journey, so you can then see where I'll be, and then if you wanted to join or bring me some food, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, grain-free. Good luck.
So what? Like a carrot for the carrot cow?
Yeah. Can you believe that, man? We're 900 miles on carrots.
That'll be the headlines. Yeah, that's cool, dude. So we're coming to the end. First of all, I genuinely want to acknowledge you, man. I think, it's been a real honor to get to meet you, 4 years ago or something like that. You came on my path. And I remember saying that in the first episode, and I say it today still. You got this incredible grounded masculine energy, but it's like this kind of stillness and safety that you bring, but also presence. you know? And I've loved it. And it's been an absolute honor to you get to kind of mentor me and coach me through movement. And I'd love to say that I still continue my squats and axes, all this stuff. I don't, but I do keep some of the kind of like the scorpion stretches and doing the squats and my ankle, all that kind of stuff. And it's been amazing to watch you just grow from strength to strength, and to see that community that you've created really champion you and support you and kind of going off and doing their own thing. And I've got no doubt that your book publishing deal is going to come down and it'll be a great deal, whatever that, it's going to be a great deal. Tony Riddle, he's a great friend. And yeah. No, but it's awesome, dude. And also, I think it's really cool that we're both going to have sons in the same year. And, that's I'm excited about.
It will be amazing.
So a few last questions. One of them is, still to this day, what's one thing that most people don't know about you?
Oh, you asked me this last time, didn't you? And I think I got away with not really answering it. So, what do they not know? Well, first I just admitted that I was born with a deformity. But maybe I was married before.
Yeah. No, you said that in episode 40, yeah.
I used to have a drink problem, drugs, maybe that.
Okay.
Yeah. Not everyone knows that.
Yeah.
I had an alcohol and drug problem, I guess.
Yeah.
I was in the army.
Yeah.
Got put in jail in the army. Yeah, man. Just
cool.
You know.
I like it.
I've been bankrupt.
Yeah.
I've been broken.
Yeah. You've been divorced. You've done it all.
Yeah, man. If they're, and look, still happy, smiling. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there've been some proper breaking down of that over years and years and years.
Yeah.
So I guess, everyone. I mean, like, there's so many podcasts out there at the moment. It's the story, but I guess it's just I've been broken.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. It was happened for a reason.
Yeah. Man.
And so imagine at the campfire tonight, in December, you're around the fire. You've got your 3 daughters, your 1 son, gathering you around. What do you think is going to be on that list of 4 things you want to put in the intention for 2020?
Do you know what? This is great. I'm friends with Christopher Baker, and he's one of the guys who runs the We Move podcast, right?
Okay, yeah.
And we've been buddies hanging out, doing ice baths. I see him all the time on your Instagram and stuff. And they've done some filming with me. And he was discussing something about this guy that had gone off and studied all spiritual practices. Mm-hmm. Everything. There wasn't a thing that he hadn't touched. And he came back with, if he was to basically describe it, what it meant, like this God or whatever it is, how we could get closer to it, what would be the let's say divinity. Mm-hmm. And he just drew, he had a piece of paper and it was completely blank. And he said, if you put 1 dot on that, you're further away from divinity. Mm. So I'm not going to write a single thing on my paper. This year.
I like that.
I'm just going to keep it completely blank.
See what comes.
And just be the vessel.
Yeah. Cool. Final question today. What does being unconventionalist mean to you?
It means just living the life that's authentic in a way. That's what it means to me.
Yeah.
It just means, because the conventional is the social norm in a way. It's what's normalized. And so it means challenge what's been normalized within yourself. And that might mean going into the really depths of the origins of your character, which would have been formed in those early years. Yeah, 0 to 6, I remember you said that. Yeah. So I guess going in there, and that's to understand what it is to be the unconventionalist. Cool, man. I want to plug, you've also... Find who you really are. Yeah, and I want to plug, you've got some online courses that people can go and check out. Is that still going? Yeah, we're all... Okay, let me do this. I'll put it... We do a Mark Leruste 50. No, we better call it the Unconventionalist 50, right? Cool. Otherwise it makes you sound like you're 50. We do the Unconventionalist 50, and that'll give you a 50% discount, and that's off a barefoot running tutorial. You don't have to be barefoot, it's just you record yourself barefoot, and then you can wear whatever. Yeah. You learn to analyse your own movement, a 10-step program, and you get to reanalyse it, and then that gives you all the things that you need to become efficient and injury-proof as a runner. Then there's a squat tutorial, which is a 6-week program, how to rewild your squat and get back to ground living. And then there's a rewild your feet program as well, which will be about how you return your feet back from compromised shoe-shaped feet into more natural feet-shaped feet. And they are the foundation of it all, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, I want to finish off with this. This is the perfect example of just the growth. I remember a few years back, we kept on talking about this online program. You're like, I'm on it, man. I know I've just got so much going on. And eventually,
you kicked my ass.
Yeah. And I kept on saying, when are you going to do that program? He said, it's happening. We've got the video guy. It's all happening. And then now it's just...
Yeah, but what did you say?
I forgot, man.
You said, I think it's basically like what I'd give you homework, and you say, what would you say to me if that was me? And it's a bit like my friend Jamie Lorenz again. What would you say to me if it's me? And it really gets me that. Yeah. It's like my friend Elsie. I'll just finish a bit. So Elsie, a friend of ours, they live right by the men's pond, Highgate. So they look out to the pond, they look up at the hill. Yeah. And, it's very, very successful. And he said to me, we were discussing all this stuff on lifestyle, and then he just said, how are your finances right now? And I was like, yeah, they're all right. Catherine, how are our finances right now? She said, they're the best they've ever been. And he said, how's your saving? How are you getting on saving? And I said, well, I'd save, accumulate, and then I accumulate, speculate. So I said, it's just growing. And he said, no, how are your savings? And I said, they could always be better. He said, just use this. And it was like this money box app or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'll get around to doing it. And he said, imagine that was me. Yeah. What you'd say to me, and again, it gets me every time. So I just now started it immediately. I just started it immediately.
Yeah, good man. Tony, I love you, brother. It's good to have you back on the show, and no doubt you'll be back again if you get pregnant. Katrina's pregnant again.
Yeah.
For the next round. But good luck on the run.
Thanks, man.
Keep us posted. And when you're back towards London, I might just come and join you with my broken knees and come and have a little run with you. That'd be awesome. Man.
Thanks for the experience. Beautiful.
Always.
Boom.
There you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. Tony's just such an incredible human. I love having Tony in my life because he brings so much awareness and experiences and just gives me a different perspective on everything. And I've really appreciated having him in my life as a friend, as a mentor. And I'm really grateful that I was a student in movement for almost a year, where he helped me with my movement patterns and trying to get me realigned and so forth. And if you want to go and support him, go and do that, please. You can check him out on Instagram under the Natural Life-Stylists, and you can go and support some of the charities that he's supporting for his epic journey of running across Britain 30 miles over 30 days. We would love and appreciate any support you'd like to give him, some messages, send him a DM. I'm sure he'll really appreciate it. And of course, if you want to launch your very own podcast, please join me on the 20th of September 2019 here in London. We'll be teaching you everything I've learned over the last 4 years of growing, launching, planning the Unconventionalists. And I've had some incredible students graduate from my program, launching their very own shows and becoming top of iTunes within the first 3 days in 3 different categories. Jason Greystone got 35,000 unique downloads in 3 months. You can go and check out his video testimonial. It'll be linked in the show notes below. And you can get your tickets with 10% discount code using Podcast Tribe. That's Podcast Tribe in lower caps, by using the link in the description below. There you have it, folks. That was another powerful conversation. We're going to be approaching the end of season 13. We've got 2 more episodes lined up, and then we'll be taking a break until we hit season 14 in October. That is so exciting. There's so much cool stuff happening. But thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for posting this on your social media. Thanks for tagging me at Mark Leruste every time. I love seeing your posts, whether that's putting them on your Insta stories or whether that's putting on your social media platforms. I appreciate you. You matter, and go out there and have a bigger impact. The world needs you.